how was I to convey the robotics of a machine and the humanity of a man at the same time?
The danger of this character was that someone would say, well, you're not going to see his face, so you can put anybody in there. And I think that that's not true. You needed a real actor and who really took it seriously, and Peter really did. Peter, you know, took it seriously from a physical standpoint. He studied mime, and he did this, and he developed this whole thing. And in retrospect, you can't imagine the movie without Peter.
It was anyhow difficult to find the actor because we needed somebody, as has been pointed out several times. I mean, somebody was a really good jawline, isn't it? Because this is what you see only this, isn't it?
Weller was probably the best person we could get. He was a marathon runner. He was very skinny. And so when you put him in the suit, he looks like a normally proportioned person. But if you put an actor with a normal physique inside that suit, he looks too big.
He really captures the feeling of the robot, physically, you know, vocally, everything. And you really feel like he's solid as a rock. And yet, you know, he had to really work very hard at that to make you have that feeling.
Orion and Mike Medavoy, my friend and a great supporter through the years, said, why don't you just find a mime teacher? I was living in New York at the time, still do. And so I interviewed 5 or 6 teachers of mime, and I talked to this really gifted gentleman named Moni Yakin, who's head of the movement department at Juilliard. And he read the script, and he wanted to incorporate dance and a fluidity in it, and not just this staccato pantomime. And so I went with him, and we prepped for about 7 months. Moni Yakin and I had developed this very fluid-like, this legato, if you will, style of movement, almost like a snake. When the suit came and it was as heavy as it was, and we were already shooting, I could hardly move in it. Once he removed the armpits and the knees and part of the heels of the feet and the neck, then I could start to work the outer shell of the suit more freely. But that still didn't give me the fluid-like movement that Moni and I had worked on for 7 months. We started to move this suit, and Paul started to shoot tests on it. And Moni took me inside and said, look, slow everything down. It's no longer a snake, it's a beast. It's got to be big, and the accents have to be huge. The dissection and the definition of the ends of these movements have to be absolutely staccato and not legato. The head has to move like bang.
We'd see Peter out there in the parking lot, you know, marching around with this, you know, with his movement coach to make it look right, you know, and it made a big difference.
He needed that time, and rightly so, and I think we were pissed off at him that he was, let's say, in our opinion, obstructive, but I don't see it that way anymore at all.
That warehouse, I just remember how difficult it was to breathe in there by the end of the day. And then as soon as I felt really, really sorry for myself, as I said, this was also in August and it was really hot, then I just look over at Peter Weller, and he would be in that RoboCop suit, which was like built on a wetsuit, you know, and he'd just be sitting there with hoses, air hoses stuck down in.
In the beginning, he was so mad at the actor that he didn't want me to call him Peter, but I had to address him like RoboCop. But I couldn't. I thought it was so silly. I just couldn't do it, you know. I said, I'm mad at the actor or not, I can't do it, I can't do it.
He dropped that after a couple of weeks, but it was pretty funny.
The suit was ready when it was ready. And Paul became accustomed to that he couldn't rush these guys, because the second that we'd cut, immediately, like a team of Ferrari mechanics, these guys would go to work on me.
They designed this fake car built on a platform, and when they finally got the prototype there, they were very surprised to find that Peter Weller in the suit wouldn't fit in the car.
Getting into the car, you couldn't get into the car with the legs. You know, it was too much suit to get into a car.
Welcome, shopper. Let's take a stroll through your new home.
This suit, which I first thought was cumbersome and lugubrious, slowed me down and made the beast of this guy, like Moni said, come through. So when we were working this, Moni would say, you know, it'd be great if, and he stayed for 2 weeks, it'd be great if you like move the shoulder and then the head or move the chest and then the head, or move the head and then the chest. Walking down those stairs in that discotheque, though, was only the head and the chest. But still, Robo isn't like looking at his feet, oh, there's stairs down there, I think I have to walk down them. Robo is a computer-driven machine. He knows where the next step is. So I had to walk down these steps with all of that smoke and that music pounding, and Joseph Vacano following me or leading me with a camera, and not look at the steps. And the steps were only about 8 inches in depth. And that was hairy, because if I took a tumble on that, there could have been broken necks and everything else. And I did that 3 times. Well, I grew up in West Texas, and I grew up around guns. And when I was a high school kid, I was a fast draw. I could twirl the 9mm as Murphy. But this gun came along. This gun is a very special gun. It was an automatic weapon. It was a fully automatic 9mm weapon designed by Beretta, as I recall. And the feds had to okay the entrance of this gun in the United States, and, you know, it was a machine gun. Twirling it was another matter altogether, although it was perfectly balanced. It's like trying to twirl half of a baseball bat. I got to twirling it, and it worked. And so I just used my own West Texas expertise to sort of heighten that. You know, it's an integral part of the old Robo personality, man, you know, to twirl that gun into a holster like a cowboy. Stéphane Dupuis, who applied that face, that was a 6.5 hour sit for me, 6.5 hours for one piece of prosthesis. Stéphane would take 3.5 hours to put it on. He would take a break. I do Zen meditation, so I'd meditate in this chair. But the 27 days or the 21 days that we did that face, after the break, Stéphane would come back, and then he would do the makeup. In those days, after 6.5 hours, I would shoot for 5 or 6 hours, because that's all that face would tolerate before the rubber would start to come off. I would be going to work at 2:30 in the morning sometimes, while the crew would be coming in from partying, because they know they would have a late call, because old Weller would be in that chair with Stéphane for the next 6.5 hours, and there's another hour and a half of that suit. So I'd be working an 8 or 9 hour day before the film was even burned.
Aim for me.
I did an adjustment in the voice. It's softer. If you go back and look at it, it's just a little bit softer. It's not, thank you for your cooperation. It's, can you help me adjust? It's a little more of this. It's coming back to him.
Drop the gun. You are under arrest.
I've done some movies I'm not so proud of. I've done some movies that I'm proud of parts of. And I've done maybe 5 or 6 movies that I'm really proud of, and RoboCop is definitely one of them.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
I'll buy that for $1.